Welcome to the Guitar Department. My name is Joe Alton and I'm your host. Today on this episode, we're going to be talking with Kathryn Severing Fox. She's going to be sitting right here and we're going to be talking about her career and everything we can expect coming up from her. It's going to be a great episode. She does 2 songs. But first, we're going to be talking in the tone zone about the Behringer Vintage Delay VD400. Now, you guys might have seen this floating around on the internet. Let's just sort of assume that's where you watch the show anyway. But this pedal came across to me as probably the cheapest delay pedal I've ever seen. Brand new, it was $20 with shipping. So let's click it on, see what it does. Here it is without any effects. A little bit of reverb coming out of my AC-15, and of course today I'm playing on the cheapest guitar I've ever had. This is a Maestro by Gibson that I got from a student of mine. And so let's click on this pedal. And right now I've got the timing set to the maximum delay. So this is as long as you can go between echoes. You can see it's not all that long. But if I click on the intensity a little bit, you can see those just sort of last a little bit longer. It's still sort of trailing off a little bit. Now if I turn the echo up, and I've got everything set, the timing is still at the max, and then the echo and the intensity are right around the middle. And you can see that's actually a really long delay. Hope if I got the scale right. Now, here's the cool thing, one of the cool things. If I turn the intensity all the way up, it just goes absolutely insane. For the record, that was only 3/4 of the way up, so that can go a little bit nuttier. Here's what happens if I turn the echo all the way up and have that intensity down a little bit more. You can see those following echoes are just a little bit more intense. And then, of course, we can wind it all the way down to where it's just sort of a slapback. The Behringer VD400 Vintage Delay. And we are back, and I'm sitting here with Kathryn Severing Fox. Kathryn, thanks for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Kathryn is working on a new album right now called Sweet Beginnings, and it's due out, you said, in September?
Yeah, I need to figure out the exact release date, but I did just book an album release concert.
Really?
So, and I haven't even talked about it or told anyone on social media or anything yet.
So we're breaking some news
here.
Yep,
yep, we will be. Yeah, it's that's September 20th at Temple Theater.
Okay.
So, so I guess sometime around then.
I was going to say the album would be probably either right before that or on that date. Then,
exactly.
Huh?
Yep.
Well, we're all excited about it, and I mean, you've got a busy schedule coming up here for the summer too, with your solo work, your studio work, and the Weary Ramblers.
Yes.
With Mr. Chad Elliott. Tell me about how that started.
Yeah. So Chad and I just kind of were admiring each other from afar. During the pandemic, actually, we had not met until after things kind of started to lift off a little bit, you know, from protocols. But yeah, we were each kind of just watching each other's videos. I was watching his live streams. He was seeing me start to songwrite because I hadn't really done that until the pandemic hit. And I just had, I don't know, worked up the courage to ask him to do a show with me. And he was like, oh, well, I think maybe like Goldfinch Room would be a good fit for us for the first time. And it's this listening room in Ames. And so I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so he showed up and had charts of all my songs. First time we had gotten together, and I was just blown away.
So you know, like his homework, yeah.
Yeah, like near tears, you know, that someone cared that much, you know.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this means this is going to be a long-term thing. I could just feel it. So
you would put out some videos, like just home cell phone video type things of your songwriting.
Yeah, I had done some home recording too because I was doing remote recording during the pandemic for people, doing string tracking and whatnot. And so I did some better recordings and then sometimes just, you know, phone ones. But he was always very encouraging, and so it was really inspiring to finally get together and work with him, and now we write together. So
Right on. Well,
Yeah.
sometime around, I guess it would have been around that same time, I'm guessing. I started following you on Facebook, and I noticed you put out a song, just a video of you playing a song, where you said you were writing a song every day. Was it for like 30 days?
yeah, it actually ended up being more like 40
Wow.
or 45 days because I didn't want to get off the inspiration train.
Yeah.
Some of those days were not super easy, I'll be honest. You know, it's not like every day was just, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired, I know exactly what I'm going to write today.
Right.
So there are times when Chad would send me like a picture of something. Like there was one song that he had sent me a picture of this man and this woman dancing in a rainstorm, and was like, all right, write a song about it. Oh, okay, well this is cool. And then he would send me sometimes songs of his that he would say, try and go for like this kind of lyric structure, you know, just because he's done this for 25 years,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, he's been around.
And so he was kind of keeping me honest and saying, all right, have you been writing today? And I'm like, oh, I mean, yeah, yes, I am.
So it's like having a personal trainer.
Yeah,
sort
kind
of on you,
of.
giving you homework assignments.
Exactly. And honestly, that was exactly what I needed. You know, I needed someone that cared enough about making sure that I was feeling inspired. And with each passing day, honestly, it became easier, you know? It's kind of like flexing a muscle.
Yeah.
You know, if you just keep doing it, it just gets easier and easier to have a flow happening,
Right.
you know? So, yeah. Yeah.
So now you're writing with Chad, and so how do you compartmentalize writing with somebody with a songwriting partner and writing songs for your own solo album?
There are different processes, I guess.
Like, do you come up with an idea and then present it to Chad, think like this might be a good idea for the Weary Ramblers?
Sure,
Or?
sometimes, but more often it's that we're out on the road and there are different things that will inspire us. Like there was one song that we wrote just by looking around at things on the road while we were driving. And I was listing things off, he was listing things off, and we were on our way back from a Story Hill Fest up in Minnesota, and we wrote this tune on the road. You know, I grab a mandolin usually, or if we're in his van, I can grab a guitar, and I'm in the passenger seat, you know, playing, and we're both kind of riffing. Sometimes it's a story that someone told us that day, or a sign that we see on the road, you know. So it I don't know. There's never exactly like a traditional process for us that we go toward.
Sure.
We just seem to both be able to set aside our egos and not really fight for our ideas. Our ideas just kind of swim together, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Have you ever tried to present a song to him only to have it end up being one of yours? A solo song?
yes. There have been a couple of those, yeah. But the truth is that even if I wrote them, my songs, we do them anyway together
Sure, of
too,
course.
and we do his,
Of
you know,
course.
tunes. So, and he's just so good at adding an even better acoustic part along with my acoustic part, you know, because that's what he's so great at.
Yeah, having a company. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yep.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's hard to find that kind of inspiration anyway, and then to have it coming from just you, and then from the both of you, and then from just him. That's just
Yes.
a wealth of material there.
It sure is. I mean, there's this one place up in Minnesota that we played at a few times called Sundog Farm Concerts. And every time we go there, we write like 3 or 4 tunes every single time. And within like a couple hours, you know, it's just go, go, go. We can't stop, you know, and it's amazing that that flow is there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's always cool. You hear about these like road trips where people go out and they write a whole album and come back and record it. That's
Yeah.
always really cool.
Yep.
So, as we've said, your album is coming out here soon. Is there any Weary Ramblers album in the works?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Although we need to actually get into a studio. But we've written so many songs now together that, I mean, we could have a couple albums easily.
You just put out the White Album yourself.
Yeah, right? No, it's just, he just finished up his process with his solo album, which
Right.
actually ended up being largely the two of us together. Yeah, go figure. It's all his tunes, but
Sure.
and then I was like, okay, debut album, here we go. I'm jumping into mine. So I think we're kind of just waiting for both of our processes on our solo ones to kind of just wrap up, so that we can then jump into the studio and just be like totally focused on what we need to do together.
And
you know.
he plays quite a bit on your album, I understand.
Yes,
too. So
yes. on 3/4 of it.
Okay.
Yep,
So
and
there's-
sings. Mhm.
So there's no real separation.
No,
Just sort of
no, yeah, again, like all except for the title track is written with my sister.
Okay.
And one of the tracks called Midwest Country Waltz is a co-write with Chad, but everything else is mine.
Excellent.
So, yep.
Well, you had a really successful Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah.
Community really reached out for you, I understand.
Yes.
I saw it progress, and I saw your updates on it and the new goals and everything. It was really, really cool to see everybody come together for that.
Yes.
And see how excited people are to actually hear your music out there.
Yeah, it is. It did blow my mind, honestly. That kind of process is really scary, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking. You're just hoping that everyone will lift you up, and it's not like easy to ask for help in that way, you
Right.
know. But it's just so it's so expensive to make an album. It just is, and I think that a lot of people don't know what all goes into it, and then when they find out by you kind of laying out what it is that goes into things, like, oh man, yeah, we need to be a part of this. And luckily I have some things that I could offer up as rewards that were maybe unique enough that it pulled interest,
Yeah,
so
I just noticed you had some paintings you were offering up. I noticed also you were offering to write personalized songs for people.
yep.
Did you have any takers on that? I'm curious.
I did, yes, yeah. That reminds me I need to work on those probably. Yeah, there was that. And that kind of process I haven't necessarily done before, but Chad had, and so I thought, well, it can't be that crazy. I'm inspired by people's lives all the time. So, and a lot of the time people want love songs, and I know love songs.
Yeah.
Like, that's bread and butter right there. So
I wrote a song for my wife about how it's
Yeah?
not hard to write a love song.
that's perfect.
I don't write songs often, but when I do, they're very literal.
Aw, that's awesome.
So part of the reason I think everybody was excited to have you yourself create an album, not just you and Chad or just you collaborating with Chad, but to have a Kathryn Severing Fox solo album is it feels overdue. And I say that as somebody who doesn't know you very well, but looking at your bio, your rap sheet is huge. Your resume is extremely impressive. The people you've worked with, for those of you who don't know, you've worked with, I don't want to go down a list and just name drop, but
Sure, right.
look up the website, Kathryn Severing Fox. Is it music.com or just KathrynSeveringFox.com?
It's just KathrynSeveringFox.com. Yep.
Cool. So you got it from the other Kathryn Severing Fox then? So
That's funny.
but no, I mean it's the Eagles, it's all these bands that everybody's heard of,
Yeah.
and of course the studio work that's involved with that. You have to be an amazing musician. Just looking at the rap sheet, there's no way that you're not amazing at what you're doing. And then you see how you've collaborated with the Des Moines scene, and like when I saw you first, it was at that musicians meetup at XBK.
Oh yeah.
That you were you were on stage like every third or fourth song there for a bit.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
People would call you up and just, okay, I'll grab it and go play, and
Yeah.
but then holding your own and owning it, you just solid the whole way through. So when that kind of talent is out there, and then they say, well, I'm going to make original music. I'm not just going to add on to your music or play these notes that the Eagles want me to play the way they want me to play them. There's a big difference between a studio musician and a creative musician at all, let alone a folk musician.
Sure.
Because studio music is very sort of classical. Even when you're not playing classical music, it's dictated. It's make the swell happen this way and bring it out this way and use your tone, bow it this way, whatever. I'm not a violinist, but
You're right though.
I
Yeah.
did scare cats for a while. That was.
I probably do sometimes too. Who knows? But-
Anyway, so I think
Yeah.
we're all excited to hear what you actually have to offer in a studio in a completed form.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the Kickstarter was such a big success.
Thanks. Yeah.
I don't know if there's a question in there, but
I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely all those experiences I've had undoubtedly inspire the writing. I can't say I ever go into writing a song and think I want to write a folk song or I want to write a blues song or a jazz song.
Right.
It's just where's the music taking me, you
Right.
know? And of course, all of our life experiences add up to those things, right? So. yeah, I've been a very fortunate musician and has some great experiences for sure.
And like I said, you've done a lot of studio work. What is it? What is it like for those of us who will never get a call from the Eagles?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so not only like are you starstruck and all that? Those are the obvious questions. But what is it actually like? You get a call. Do you go meet with Glenn Frey and Don Henley, or do you go to Golden Bear and send in a tape?
Sure. You know, those two experiences you're talking about are both fairly different experiences. I can speak to I'll speak to Golden Bear first.
Sure.
So. I got connected there because I think I was doing, gosh, I can't remember if it was a Casey Joe Collins album or if it was a Jordan Meserol album. It was one of those two. And I think it was Casey Joe. And he wanted me to do strings for the album. And I had not been to Golden Bear yet. I had not met Brian yet. And this was a couple of years ago. And so I went in, and that was how that connection came to be. And then Brian was like, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah, now I've luckily become, you know, kind of like a go-to string person for him, at least with violin and viola, you know." And so he'll just text me or call me or message me and say, "Hey, this person would love to have you on their album." Sometimes it's the entire album. Sometimes it's one song, 3 songs.
Sure.
Sometimes they want improvised stuff. Sometimes we do stacking of string parts where I do like a full orchestra. So yeah, each of those experiences are a little different, but it's always really interesting, you know, walking into that studio and obviously playing original music for people. Oh man, that's so great to be adding to that. With the Eagles kind of stuff, or like the Beach Boys and those kind of concerts, that has a lot to do with somehow just your name being on the right list, I think sometimes, you know.
So you performed on stage with them?
Yes, yeah, I performed with the Eagles when they were here at the arena, the Wells Fargo Arena. I didn't record with them. I played a live show with them.
Okay.
And so for that, they have contractors. There's usually a handful of, and maybe even less than that, a handful of those kind of people that handle the really big shows that come into cities. And so I was recommended to the contractor, and I got the call, you know, and it's honestly that simple. And then they sent me a Dropbox folder of sheet music and recordings with click track and everything, and said, "All right, see you on stage." You know, so there's no rehearsal, nothing. It's just set up on stage. The music is on the stand, and you go.
Yeah, well, you'd imagine have to be. You can. They're Eagles going from city to city, rehearsing with new musicians, and like,
yeah, they're not going to rehearse.
It's impractical anyway, you know.
Totally. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, but your rap sheet is just huge as far as the people you've played with, the people you've done studio work for. I hate to put too fine a point on it, but do you have a favorite?
Ooh.
A favorite experience, we'll say?
Oh, that's hard.
I bring the tough questions.
Yeah, in terms of recording, probably George Benson. That was pretty cool.
I love George Benson.
Yeah, I did a whole Nat King Cole tribute album with him.
Yeah.
And I grew up listening to jazz standards, and so Nat King Cole is just like iconic for me.
Absolutely.
And George Benson is convincingly similar sounding to NatKing Cole on these tunes.
Sure.
Like, it's crazy.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You don't get that from the stuff he's famous for on Broadway and Masquerade and stuff like that.
But if you go and listen to that album, it's like shockingly similar. And we're playing the original orchestrations from Nat King Cole's music. And so that probably was the coolest, like, pinch me kind of moment, I would guess. Yeah.
So you were actually in the studio with George Benson at the time, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah, it was that. It's hard to say that or doing stuff with like Gloria Estefan and whatnot. I don't know. There's some really, but probably George Benson's. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So, real quickly, we're going to have to wrap it up here.
Sure.
But you're also adjunct faculty at SWIC, Southwestern Community College. For those of you who don't know, a little musical gem down in Creston that has spawned myself and just a whole host of others including several guests on this show that went to SWIC. And obviously, your husband Jeremy was the director of the School for Music Vocations down there.
Yep.
Until very recently. You're staying on.
Yes.
You do you do violin lessons, string lessons.
Yep, string lessons, piano tuning lessons, because I'm also a piano tuner.
They give piano tuning lessons.
Yes,
now, huh?
I do give those. I'm trying to train the younger generation to help pick up the slack. So, yep, that, and I run a songwriting ensemble.
That's interesting too. We didn't have that when I was there.
No, that's very new within the last couple years, but it's really thrived. So.
Yeah, I'll bet. There's a lot of talent in that place.
Yes.
That would have been really handy while I was going there, and maybe not for myself, but for a whole host of others.
Yeah, of course.
Well, Kathryn Severing Fox, thank you so much for being here. Would you stick around and do a song for us?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right. Kathryn Severing Fox, everybody.
So this is a tune called Follow That Feeling. What are you thinking about at night? Staring at the ceiling. Are you waiting until the moment's right to go on and follow that feeling? Do you wonder how the world would be if they saw you and they saw me? Are you waiting until the moment's right to go on and follow that feeling? As you watch the autumn leaves, do you dream of spring? Or do you think of our sweet November and the love that it brings? Do you wonder how the world would be if they saw you and they saw me? Are you waiting until the moment's right to go on and follow that feeling? To go on and follow that feeling. All right, and this is a song about being really wanderlust. It's called White Lines and Headlights. Windmills flash like fireflies, keeping watch on this late night drive. The world living peacefully in disguise can't seem to know what I've left behind. 200 miles from the bed where I lay my restless head, a weary rambler fighting for a chance to see herself once again. It seems to be a mystery, it seems to be a dream, but I hope my eyes never come to. And sure this cannot be, sure that this can never be a dream come true. Only white lines and headlights know the truth. From the bed where I lay my restless head, a weary rambler fighting for a chance to see herself once again. It seems to be a mystery, it seems to be a dream, but I hope my eyes never come to. And sure this cannot be, sure that this can never be a dream come true. Only white lines and headlights know the truth. Flash like fireflies, keeping watch on this late night drive. The world living peacefully in disguise can't seem to know what I've left behind.
Well, that's it for the guitar department. I want to thank our guest, Kathryn Severing Fox. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And be sure to check out everywhere that Kathryn's playing this summer, both by herself and with the Weary Ramblers. Check out the website, KathrynSeveringFox.com, and be sure to be on the lookout for that CD release party and the new album, Sweet Beginnings, happening this September. I also want to thank Aiden, our camera operator. I want to thank Matthew up in the tower, and I want to thank Jackson, our producer. And be sure to join us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Guitar Department and our Instagram page at guitar_department. And with that, you ready to play us out?
Yeah.